Hello everyone, and welcome back to the RobeTheMatoran channel. If it's your first time here, then welcome to the channel. Today, I have a very special video, and that is the 20th anniversary of the product and storyline of Bionicle 2005. So this is 20 years of Bionicle 2005. It's been around for 20 years now, and I would love to sit here and talk about it because I did not do an overview for this one as well, along with 2004 Bionicle. So this is a perfect time to sit here and actually talk about all the sets in one big video. So honestly, me missing these back in the beginning, I actually feel makes the most sense. It actually can now kind of wrap into this because now it's the perfect time to have this for Bionicle Day. So I do hope you all enjoy this little video I have concocted here, and let's go ahead and get started. So for this year of Bionicle, there's a grand total of 45 sets. That includes the sets at the normal like construction sets. This is the year they actually introduced that. They actually started doing like play sets, quote unquote, for Bionicle, which they were kind of hit or miss. I wasn't too crazy about. I never owned any of them, so I can't really give you a too strong of an opinion, but they used to have those, and that's polybags and special editions and accessories, all that good stuff. 45 sets. But there are mainly just 23 sets, technically 24 if you count Visorak, but that's a gray area. I just talk about that later. Anyway, if you want to get back in the day of 2005, if you wanted to get all 23 of these sets, you would have paid a little under $200. So not too bad. You know, all these sets were relatively affordable. You know, crazy when Lego actually had affordable prices. I mean, don't everyone remember that? I sure don't. Anyway, if you want to pay this now, if this came out in 2025, so 2025 money, and just by inflation, you'd be paying a little over $300. So a little $100 over the initial price back in 2025. But I mean, 2020. I keep saying 2025. 2005, you would have been paying. You pay a little like $100 more. That's not too bad. That's not too bad. So with that, I will now want to dive into talking about each individual set, not like traditionally. So if it's your first time here, I usually just break it down into categories of each set, like each category of set, like the smallest, like the Matoran or Rahaga for this case, then the Toa, then the villains and the Titans, and so on. So we're gonna start like that. I'm gonna start with the Rahagas. But before I get into that, I must talk about this story. The Toa Metru finally returned to Metru Nui, only to find their homeland shrouded in mist, with Rahi running wild and strange webs everywhere. Unbeknownst to the Toa, the Visorak horde, led by Visorak and Hordika, had taken over the deserted city. Hordika was informed by the Visorak that the Toa had arrived, and she told them to find them and capture them. The Toa would inevitably get captured by the Visorak. Hordika was curious to see the effects of the Visorak venom on the Toa, so they were hung up high above Metru Nui, where they became Toa Hordika, and fell to what have been their deaths, if not for the Rahaga who caught them and brought them to God Metru. They made a plan. They were to save the Matoran first, and then go after Kitangu, a Rahi that could reverse their transformation. With that finally out of the way, we can now start looking at each individual set. And we're going to start off with the smallest set of the wave and the most uninteresting ones of the wave also, and that is the Rahagas. The Rahaga are rather simple and rudimentary built little creatures here. I know they're not creatures, they're technically ex-Toa transformed into makeshift like Rahi slash Taragas. These are like the Matoran slash Taragas, I guess, of this wave, so that's why there's no official Matoran. These kind of replaced it, but they are very small and very crude in their design, but they have quite a bit of charm to them. You know, despite their very simple and static nature to them, they are all identical except for color. That's about their, and not even all of it, because they all share gray and they have just their splash of dark Metru colors, which they do have these Rakshi heads recolored in the dark Metru color, so that's nice. And also, these are the first sets to introduce you to the new launcher of the wave, and that is the Ratuka spinners. These small little things small little table toppers that you can pull through like a ripcord and they'll fly off. I'll show that later. And also, this is the year that they stopped doing the collectible thing. They are no longer like quote-unquote collectibles. Like, from the first few years, there was the mask. In 2004, there was the Kanoka disc, which I really did like, but they don't have that anymore. They have these launchers, and this is when they really just went high-end onto that, which, you know, you kind of, either you like it or you don't. I'm indifferent. I don't like the Ratukas, but I do like the launchers, at least the ones after this, so they're not too bad. Outside of that, these guys do not offer much, unfortunately, because they're very small and they don't pose very well, and they're just not the greatest sets, but they're cute, I guess. That's really all they have. They're cute, and they have Ratuka spinners, which, honestly, fun fact, every set that was released had a Ratuka spinner incorporated into the build, or just in the set in general. So you will be seeing these all throughout this video. Something I will be mentioning throughout the whole review, and that is all these sets are clone sets. A surprise to no one, so there's no exceptions with the Visorak.
In Metro Nui, the power of the Visorak is almost complete. Welcome to the nest. Spider-like with sharp senses, unique armored shells, and powerful venom pinchers. Their back holds the feared Ratuka spinner. Catch the power of the Visorak. Bionicle. Each set sold separately.
Alright, and here we have the Visorak. And no surprise, they're all identical. They all share the same pieces, and they share the same strange new mold, which is their shell that houses their one only function, and that is the Ratuka spinner. Now, it's not a great design because it's connected through a axle hole like near the front, and it flops. And I know it's supposed to do that because of the Ratuka, and you can kind of like aim it, but I don't like it. It kind of makes them look hollow, a little gappy, so definitely not the greatest on that. The only thing that really sets them apart is, well, their slightly different pincer designs and their shells very slightly. And most importantly, and the most ideal thing, is their color scheme, because they actually have obviously variety of colors, and they brought back some favorable colors. They brought back the Mata colors, so really good for mocking. Like, the joints and hand pieces are actually in the Mata colors, and it's really nice to see. So it makes them very colorful, very pops out. And it's surprising for the villains to have these bright colors here, but it's honestly good to see. Like, I'm glad to see that we have some new colors, not really new colors, but the new joints and these older colors, so great for mocking. So aside from that, they don't really have anything else unique. So they're good on their own, but when they're all together, it feels like you kind of have the same set 6 times over, because, well, they are indeed clone sets. So to start the contrast here, and it's time to look at the good guy sets, and that is Hordika, a very controversial Toa design in my fair opinion, and a lot of the fan base as well. So this is a very split one. So let's go ahead and look at the Hordika.
In Metro Nui, caught in the Visorak web, change has begun. Behold, Toa Hordika. Reshaped with new body armor, each Toa must control a new elemental tool and master the Ratuka spinner. Catch the power of the Toa Hordika. Bionicle. Each set sold separately.
And at last, we have the Toa Hordika, which I will have a lot to say about them, because they are quite the Toa team here, because they have a very interesting and unique design to one, because they all are identical, of course. I already said that. So, quite the contrast from the Visorak, though, because the Toa Hordika have a much more muted color than the Visorak ever could, because they have all the dark metro colors as their previous forms did, of course, and they're combined with silver and gray. So they're definitely not a colorful bunch here. They're very muted in color. The Visorak actually had more. That's really sad to say. Whether you love it or hate it, LEGO decided to do this, and I guess here we are. So that's kind of like, don't really like that all that too much. So they really don't have too many distinct differences besides their weapons and their new head molds, which I get it's supposed to be a more bestial, monstrous, mutated version of their original masks and stuff, but I just don't think it was really well executed. Their whole aesthetic is supposed to be monstrous and mutated. And also, I forgot, before I forget, this is the last year of Bionicle that actually has gear function, if I'm not mistaken, of Gen 1, of course. This is the last year that really incorporate gear function. So yeah, this was definitely not the way to go out on, because they had the little simple little arm function here, and yeah, it's all right. I will say I do kind of like the arm gear function thing. It's kind of cool, but it's not enough to really have a lot of give to it, because it's kind of simple, but it's neat, it's decent. Other than that, I think the Hordika are kind of a heaping mess, because they're really gappy and spindly almost. So I don't have too strong feelings about the Hordika. If you like the Hordika, that's fine, but I don't. I'm sorry. The Hordika are kind of forgettable, and that's me being nice about it. Honestly, they kind of suck. I don't like the designs. So I'm going to go ahead and move on and get on to the Titans.
Nui, the battle of the Titans has begun. The great Kitungu faces King Sidorak and Rudaka, his queen. Their blade, rotator claw, and venom spinners are a real threat. Kitungu must prove if he's history or legend. Bionicle, spin your destiny.
It's Titan time. It is finally time to look at the big boys and girl sets. And these are probably the relatively most diverse group of sets in the entire wave of 2005. So this is the most interesting and most unique ones you're gonna get. So starting off with the shortest one of the bunch, and that is Kitungu. Probably the most differentiating one of them all, because he actually is, well, he's not tall, and he has a lot of recolors in the flame yellowish color, the flame orange yellowish color. I hope I'm saying that right, or aka the Keat orange, because this is where the name came from. It came from Kitungu. Keat orange, it makes sense. The fan base gets it. For the most part, he has a good design. It's actually pretty good. I do like it. However, this is right before we get to the piston joint, as I call it, the what I used to call it, I can't even remember, but there was a term I used to call it, but the piston piece, basically, where the leg bracelet, yes, the leg bracelet, the leg brace, the leg brace. But before that, they just kind of didn't have that, so it made them a little awkward to stand. And for Kitungu, this could be a joint problem, but yeah, it's a joint problem, but I don't know if this is like due to time or just because they were just bad from the start. He really, is hard for him to get him to stand and pose. Like, the pose I have him in is the best I could put him in without him completely collapsing over. And however, I do like his foot design, but I think that's also making it just a bit worse. And also, his arms are lacking detail. There's a lot of blatantly open, just bareness on his arms, and there's just a whole open socket just sticking out. There's like nothing there. That is just really disappointing. I do like, there's a lot to say that I do like. There's a lot more good than bad. There's just, the bad is a bit up there because the arm's a bit bare. It doesn't have the piston like leg piece that can give him more stability, and his feet are a little awkward, but other than that, he's really good. I really do like him. Moving on, got Sidorak, and he is like a stark opposite to Kitungu. He's tall, he's dark, he's red, he's evil looking because he's the bad guy. He is really something to behold. He's actually probably my favorite out of the Titan group here because I like red. Yes, red is my favorite color, so that's always going to be a plus for me. And I do like his design. His design is probably the best one, my opinion. This don't have to be yours. This is my opinion. I do like his design a lot. I really do like his shoulders. Like, there's a lot of detail on him. I think that he just really has a lot of stuff going on for him, and it looks really good. However, there is a problem with also his joints, because since he is so tall and his feet are kind of small, they tried to give him more stability. They tried to make it like a really long foot, but it still doesn't work. He really needed the piston piece for his legs, the leg support, but unfortunately he did not have that either. So he's a little wobbly around the knees. So again, I don't know if this is like a joint problem due to time or it was just bad from outside, fresh out the box. I did buy him brand new sealed and he kind of had that issue even a little bit. So, but this is still years later than it initially came out. So it's really hard to give a super strong idea of that, because if I would have known this back then, I really wish I had this set back then for I can really like tell you, but I didn't. So I don't really know. But other than that, he has a really cool design. I like his hand claw piece where he's holding his Ratuka. He can actually hold his Ratuka spinner like Kitangu, and he can, you know, hold it in place where it won't fall out. He's like the only one besides Kitangu that can actually hold it without it completely falling over when you're playing with this. If you play with it, no judgment here, but that is just an observation. He can actually hold it. And Kitangu. Now, the final one, which is, I think, is the tallest one here, and that is Rudaka. And she surprisingly does not need the piston piece for her legs because she can actually hold it on her own. And it's funny because she's literally on heels, because she has heels, or at least what it appears to be heels. So that's actually kind of interesting, but she has the most stability out of the bunch. Now, you could argue that's the pose I put her in. Don't take that out of context. Anyway, she has a lot of stability, so that's really good. And I won't lie, her design is quite interesting, because this is the only Bionicle female character that has, well, this much attention towards her feminine appearance, and it's kind of odd. I don't know why they decided to do this. I don't know. This is definitely a choice the Lego has done. So I think it's kind of funny, but I do like it. It is interesting. She does stand out. That makes her very interesting. So I can't even hate it. And also, it's a recolored Roxy head in silver. I mean, that's really cool though. It's just the way they placed it is interesting, I would say. So I won't go into too much on that. It's just, I will say her design is definitely interesting on that. But other than that, moving on, she does have a lot of detail, a lot of weaponry and detail on her body. She has a lot of stuff going on. I even like the little ponytail with the little Visorak claw piece on her head. It's like a ponytail. It's really cool. But she does not have a lot on the arms, because one arm is completely just taken for the Ratuka, so she doesn't have any hands, any proper hands, that is. And it's kind of awkward looking without the Ratuka, but the Ratuka cannot be placed right there without you immediately trying to use it, because if you just let it sit there, it will fall off. Of course, you already know that. And the other arm, she has this spinning weird claw thing. I don't know how to describe it. I don't know what the weapon's called, so it's there. It's a cool gear function. It's pretty neat. And that's about it for Rudaka. Our color scheme is it's good, but basic. So there's not much else to say on that. So I will gladly now move on.
From a distant past, two new heroes awake. Equipped with giant spears and the awesome Ratuka spinner, they're ready for any challenge. Bionicle Special Edition.
Here at last, the last two sets of the wave besides Visorak, but we have the Toa Hagah, which is only two of them because we never got the other four, which is unfortunate, but you know, there's plenty of mocks out there, so you can definitely make them. There's just an idea of what they would look like. But anyway, point is, talking about the Toa Hagah, and these guys they have a good color scheme. I'll give them that. They have a pretty good color scheme because it's, yes, dark Metru colors, and Norik has the silver and dark Metru red, and Iruni has the gold and dark Metru green. But it's cool though, and he has these really awesome spears. These shields are also amazing. Like, I really do like the shields. The Ratukas suck because they do not hold on to shields very well, so they do fall out very easily unless you angle it in a very weird way, which then you really can't aim it, so that kind of sucks. And they do have, well, Iruni has a new mask and color. Well, not really new color for it, but just a new mask. But Norik has a familiar mask we've seen before, just now in silver. So they are pretty similar to the Metru builds. Actually, they're practically identical except for the chest armor, which is the only real unique thing about them that sets them apart. They're actually in different colors. The Matoran torso is actually in a new color. I think that's a new color in silver. And Iruni has a Borakal weapon in gold, in dark gold, so that's also a nice recolor. And they have a similar Metru build. I just mentioned that. If you really want to know my true thoughts on the Metru build, I would actually recommend my last year 2004 overview, because I feel like my actual Metru review kind of sucked. That was like my early days on the channel. That was like really early. That's one of my first videos on the channel. It really sucks. I wouldn't recommend that. So I'll just say watch the overview instead, because that's a lot better and a lot more of a real like deep dive talk about the Metru build. So I would definitely recommend that video instead. So the clip notes, I like the Metru build. The gear functions are iffy because it kind of restricts because it's in both arms. So I'm not crazy about, but I do like the armor. I like the leg armor, the shoulder armor. I like the designs, is what I'm saying. So it's just that we already seen these, so they're not really offering anything new. So there's not much to really talk about here. So I'm gonna go ahead and summarize this video and end it. In summary, 2005 is kind of a forgettable year in Bionicle history. Not gonna lie, this is the year that I tend to not think about hardly at all. Like, it's a year that, honestly, if it didn't exist, I wouldn't even think none of it. If this didn't happen, I would not feel bad. This was just not a fantastic year. This is definitely one of my least favorite years of Bionicle. So the score I give 2005 will be a 5.0, and that's not ironic. It's just average. It is just the middle of the road year of Bionicle. I don't really like it all that much. Honestly, it's probably my least favorite year of Bionicle, actually. This actually probably is my least favorite year. It's the most forgettable. It is the most just lackluster. There's not a lot to go on here. There's not a lot offered in this year, so I really am not insanely in love with it. I don't hate it, no, but I don't like it that much either. So yeah, 5.0, that's my score for 2005. Tell me yours in the comments if you have any thoughts of your own, so please let me know in the comments, because I love to read every single comment. And I hope you all enjoyed this little overview of Bionicle 2005. Yes, with that, well, join me next time when I look at whatever I look at next, because I don't know when this is going to be uploaded or how this is going to come out. Hopefully on Bionicle Day, but if not, then I suppose it'll be another day or a day before or after. I don't know. I just hope you enjoy it. Please consider liking, subscribing to my channel. And with that, I will bid you all adieu.